Hello everyone, this will be the review of game Evenicle, and the key was provided by developer. Now this is an erotic game that mixes JRPG with turn-based combat and visual novel. Now we are on YouTube, so I won't be able to show you much because there is just boobs everywhere, and I can't even click on CG to show you the pictures there because they are just showing explicitly female bodies, and I can't do it on YouTube. So I'm going to maybe start with a little bit of gameplay, just to show you roughly what you can expect. Just the graphic style. So we'll start with 3 pictures I'm gonna show you, and then we'll show you the world exploration, because this is the weakest element of the game, and I want to just show you what it is, what it offers, because the game is $40. It's quite expensive. So basically, let's start with those 3 saves, and I'm gonna just roughly show you what you can expect. So this is basically the pictures you can expect when you are in the dialogue. This is the graphic style, one of the characters. This is the very basic first chapter. I just have one additional character. I'm playing this guy, and I have 1 character in my team. You can have 5, well, together with our main protagonist. So this is what you can expect, right? You can either like it or not. This is roughly how the female characters will be displayed. Additionally, you have sometimes graphics like here. Let me just load it. This is additional graphic style that you can sometimes see. I'm not sure what this style called, but it's like a different style of drawing. I'm not so sure if it's chibi. Maybe it's chibi, but I think chibi is slightly different. I know that one of the new Final Fantasy games with Pokemons had this specific style, but I'm not sure if this is the same, and maybe it's just a different style of manga. So there's also this like an additional graphic element. I think it's quite cute, both the first one and the second one. So both styles complement each other, and they are very well, there's a lot of it. There's basically a lot of drawings. There's a lot of story. The game is 75 hours long, for me at least, just to finish it. Plus you can also do all the collecting and try to finish the game 100%, so this is gonna take longer. But overall, it's a very long game, also quite expensive. Like $40 is a lot for a JRPG slash visual novel. So this is the second style, and one more. I'm gonna show you this one. So this is basically the style of drawing that's just showing you the scenes. There's different scenes in game. Many of them are highly sexual. So I'm just showing you one of them, but they are kind of drawn this way, right? So this is quite, I would say it's quite high quality style of drawing. I like it. This is very close to Sakura, I think, and I am just very satisfied with how it looks. So if you treat it as a sort of comic book or just a visual novel with really good visuals, well, I think it has them. I think this is actually the style that you can like. But of course, to each its own. You may not like it, but I personally did. Playing some visual novels, I think this is probably high level. This is probably like 9 out of 10 or something like that. I kind of like Sakura most, but I think this is very close. So yeah, this is the style you can expect. Now, when it comes to gameplay, aside from just hours of talking and dialogues, which is tons and tons of it, this is how the game looks. And this is a problem because it's very downgraded. Like, this is our character. We move around the world map. I don't have access on this place to teleportation or map, but map is there and teleportation is also there. I just don't want to spoil it because the game is very heavily on the story, so I'm just avoiding completely or almost completely any story elements. But the world is quite big. Actually, I had 12% of the world explored after probably 20 hours of playing, and 75 hours into when I finished the game I still didn't have the full map. I didn't see everything. There's a lot of collectibles out there, so maybe they're here. Collection, yes. So there is landscapes. There's 100 landscapes in the game, and you can try to find them all. There is also flirting events with each character, and there is I think there's 10 characters or something like that. So they all have flirting events. There's also mega monsters to kill. They are like very heavy bosses, very hard to kill bosses. Problem is the game is not showing you the level of the enemies, so you have no idea what you are fighting. You just have to save before it. You can pretty much also save anytime, aside from combat. So you can save in the middle of dialogue, in the middle of cutscene, in the middle of exploration. So it's quite convenient. And there's also girl monsters to catch, kind of like Pokemon, but they're treated like items. So they're just, if you catch them, they're just an item that can give you a boost. So maybe I'll move to the characters. It looks very simple because you generally have one weapon. By the way, this one is better. You will, you will get weapons slightly better. So after you find, let's say, a short sword, you can find probably up to +3 same type of weapon, also short sword, but better, right? So this is an upgrade. We can also have, as you can see, different types of armor. So that was the initial one. This one is +1, and then you have items, right? So you can have matches or a Richie Rod in this case, and this will be improving our attributes. So only 3 items. Then you can also have additional slots, so you can have 4. As much as the stats are concerned, we have level, experience, HP. Then it's attack. It's not explained how exactly mechanically it works, how the defense is diminishing the damage taken. Is there any resistance for magic damage? Very badly explained, but it's quite simple. So basically we have attack that goes for probably normal attacks. We have magic that probably goes for the power of spells. We have some defense. I'm not sure if it protects from magic, but I guess it protects from physical damage. Of course, we can also upgrade HP. Speed, probably this is how fast you can act, or before whom you will act, but I'm not sure if you can actually act multiple times before the opponent. So I'm not exactly sure how it works. Is it just the amount of attacks in a period of time, or is it who attacks first in a round? So it's hard to say. Then we have additional percentage attributes which can be upgraded by, for instance, finding specific item that gives you +1 to everything. So we have accuracy. This helps you if the enemy tries to dodge. Some have a high dodge chance, so you need accuracy. Evasion means you can completely evade attack, but I don't think you can evade magic. Shock means that you lose a turn, so this is quite bad. You can, I guess this is what you inflict, not what you can take. Endurance, I think it protects from some status effects, but again, it's not explained. It should be, all of it should be explained if you hover on it, but it's not. I don't like when numbers are not explained. It works, you can play it, but you will not exactly know it. And also, before I go to the rest, you can crudely go through the game just by grinding, and there is sometimes a lot of grinding. So I didn't necessarily like it because it was breaking the pace. But if you don't mind grinding, I don't. So I just watched a movie and I was grinding for like 2 hours and it was okay. But I don't think it's necessary. I think you should have some ways to just be stronger and not just grind for grinding's sake, because it's quite boring for some people. I kinda can take it. I kinda like grinding, but many people don't. So it might be annoying. We have critical chance, multi-hit chance. So this is like two attacks, and both of them can crit. If you have any higher chance than 0%. So you can have 2 crits, or just 1 attack that's not a crit, or you can even miss. Magic resistance, I'm not sure if it's lowering the damage or if it's giving a chance to completely resist damage. Maybe it's just diminishing. I'm not sure. Again, it's not explained. And experience gain, when this is higher, you just get more experience additionally per combat. Now we have skill points, and yeah, it's gonna load a bit for some reason. Right, so basically you switch on and off different powers, like those are attacks. We can shock, so the enemy will lose a turn if this kicks in, or we can just attack normally, but it does extra damage. Again, it's not explained how much extra damage. It should have a proper number and explanation. How much damage they actually take is diminished by their stats. We don't know enemy stats, weaknesses, or maybe check this. No, it can't be checked. So you just have to attack and hope for the best. You can't really know what exactly is going on. You can kind of get some idea, like some enemies just have a high dodge chance, so you know that they will probably dodge attacks, but they don't dodge magic. Here it says 30%, here it doesn't say what is the extra damage. So again, for a $40 game, this should be very, very clearly explained with hover on information, and it's not there. And then we have magic attacks. I actually have lightning magic, so this kind of works. Support, we can use items or try to escape. This is, I think, only for our main character. This is a way of escaping. And this means that I don't, I'm not sure why it's one. I think it's just one of those 5 points that we have. We have 5 points of this BP battle points or whatever they are called. So this takes 1. It can be empty. And ability, well, we just display some enemy info during combat, but there is more powers. Let's say what she has. She has like bonus to experience. Ally guard, this can help to take damage in place of our main character or any other character, and she has like 4 attacks in a row as skill and other skills. So this will be expanded. So this is how far the combat system goes. All of those 4 might be expanded on different characters. You can have like probably 20 or 16 skills, I think up to 16, and there will be a bit more customization here. But overall, you just want to have higher level, more points here into everything, and just unlock as many powers as you can. So there is little decision making. You just kind of unlock whatever you can, and then if you're too weak, you just grind more. Sometimes you need some specific powers to kind of move the how to call it, the sequence, right? Who attacks first? So those can be crucial. But aside from that, you just spam everything you have, and it kind of works. I'm gonna show you combat. By the way, we have this bar that shows us when we get attacked. Very nice. It's usually hidden, but in this game it's actually shown. And of course there's no sound and music because I have to comment. So right, those are the enemies. Here is the sequence of who attacks first. We can just do a normal attack. He dodged. Another one, 10%, 2 dodges in a row. Let's attack again. Okay, he's dead, and I'm gonna zap this one. Okay, so this is how it works. Quite fast. I have it sped up, I think, in options. Right, and we get an item we can sell. Now, if you go to town, I think this one is just without any story events. Right, so basically we can regenerate health. We can buy items. There is some items there. Oh, by the way, I should click through it probably. Right, so you can get, in this case, only consumables. They get more expensive if you have more than 1. The price will go up, so eventually you can have like 4 or 5 of each, and then it goes to 99,000 gold eventually, so you can only have a couple of them. This allows us to level up on the fly, well, somewhere in the game world. There's also weapons, armor, items, but here they are not existent because this is just a small village. So basically here you buy your consumables and weapons. A pawn shop, you sell stuff that you don't need. By the way, this is weird character the game has. Honeys, they're called. They're kind of made of clay, very weird characters. So here you can sell stuff you don't need, so you just pick something and you can sell it for like 12 gold, getting rid of items. And then we have level shop. There you just level up. You get sometimes skill points, and sometimes you get, well, mostly skill points. Otherwise, you just get stats up. And well, they are completely linear. So you just get more HP, more damage, more magic, more speed, and so on. Church, usually there's some talking there. There's also church, just as additional place, as a building. Gather info is also some information about the game, usually some sort of tutorial hints that you can find there one at a time. And this is a status, so you can basically buy an item and here equip it, but you can also do it in the main game if you leave the town, right? So this is everything. Now you can find specific stuff in the game world. Maybe let's go to collection. So it's landscapes up to 100, flirting events with your well, characters, the other characters that you have in your team, mega monsters. Those are basically bosses that you can find as in the game world, and you can fight them as a additional reward, experience, and some items from them. And girl monsters, you can find them and catch them with specific skill, and then you can use them either as additional item, because they have various effects, or you can sell them. So kind of like Pokemons, but it's just basically one item to upgrade your characters. So what is actually the game? Mostly it is visual novel with tons of talking and those graphics that I was showing you. Additionally, this exploration around the game world where you can find specific places like those events with romance, or those vistas that you can basically collect them and then also get rewards for that. There's some exploration involved. There is tons of grinding and fighting. By the way, this is guaranteed fight with enemy that gives you more experience. This is a romance event, and this is a hidden higher level monster. So stuff like that you can find, right? Doesn't look the best, especially for this price, but it works fast and you can kind of enjoy it. Maybe one more fight. So if you played games like Final Fantasy VII and similar, this should be okay to you. But I would say that this presentation is very downgraded. This is all you get. This is as far as it goes. By the way, you can also fish, but I don't have the skill. And there is quite a lot of sub-quests, additional quests aside from main story. And there is no log for quests. There is only some things that characters say when you are not moving, and also there is this progress bar here, but you don't really have your quests anywhere, so you don't really know what quests you have aside from some hints, and you can't check where to go unless they tell you explicitly. So might be a need to use a guide from time to time. Also, you can skip quite a lot of additional quests, which is a bit of a problem, because if they were just listed, it would be easier to follow. So that's quite of a problem. The game is very expensive, and it's trying to be something it's not. At the same time, I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy the sexual element and the whole topic of the game, which is also sexual. I like the writing and I like the graphics, but at the same time, I did play quite a lot of JRPGs in my life, and this is very downgraded. I'm not saying it's bad, because it's long, it's epic. It's not even the worst combat system that you can think of. It's just very old. Like, this is less than Final Fantasy VII, because at least Final Fantasy VII had better presentation of characters in combat, and it had the whole materia system. And here we have it completely downgraded to RPG Maker idea, with, well, some micromanagement, some optimization, but you can just crudely force it going to as high level as possible. I grinded to level 80 or 82, something around 80, I think. Not all characters, because they had different bonus to experience. So some of them were 77, some of them were 80. So I'm not sure how far it goes, but probably to 99 level at least. Maybe more than that. So that's a lot of levels, and you just have to crudely grind like crazy to beat particular enemy. There is 7 chapters in the game, and they are like 10 hours long each. So this is a lot of talking, a lot of backtracking, and going through very, very prolonged cutscenes with sexual content. The game is completely fair about it. It has a disclaimer when you start it. It's 18 plus. So there was some problem on the forums. People were saying that some scenes in the game are too much. I wouldn't agree with that. I think it matches the story, but yes, there is violent sexual content in some elements of the game. So just be warned about it. If you don't like it, if you don't agree with that you just don't have to play it, well, it's kind of explicitly said I'm not sure if they're actually saying about violent elements, just about sexuality, but there is also violent elements. For me, it wasn't shocking because, well, I've seen wars, but it's there. So the large part of the game is very nice, very light-hearted. I really like the message of the game. And it's not only about the sexual elements, it's also about politics, it's also about morality, it's also about religion. So very many topics are touched in a very good way, a very positive way actually. But from time to time there are gruesome elements, kind of like horror elements, a little bit of violent sex, and you may not like it. But I think it was very well put towards the story. Like it made sense. It wasn't explicit for the sake of being explicit. It was explicit because it was about to stir some emotions. And I just wanted to say that in most games, when there is something evil, you fight it. Usually you don't cosplay as a bad guy. Sometimes you do, but there is just very small minority of games. Usually if there is evil, you fight it. If there is something awful happening, you are strongly against it. You are saving people. You are fighting the evildoers. So I'm not sure why people would be so much against it. If well, one thing is that the stuff like that exists in our world, and there's no point to just pretend it's not there. It doesn't exist. And secondly, the game is in no place saying that any of that is good. Quite the contrary. It's actually the awful thing, and you are trying to fight it, right? You're trying to save people from that violence and that negativity. The whole game has a very positive message, so it's by no means showing that doing evil stuff is good for you. It's just showing that it's there, like in real life. So to some extent, the game is just very realistic, actually, on the level of why things happen and how people react to it. I was very surprised by it. It was really a good piece of reading. Like probably this was more than 1 week of reading. I was actually very thorough about this game. So I personally really enjoyed it. Now I would have to say this. When it comes to combat and this what we are seeing here, this presentation, this combat, this exploration, this is 5, maybe 4. I would even say 4. Because it's below standard, up to today's standard. Like you can think of games like Grandia 2, which is very old. You can think of Final Fantasy series, all of it, including the old ones. Like Final Fantasy 7 was probably one of the first games on CD that I played in my life, and it was kind of like this one in terms of presentation. I think it was even more complex. I also played games that were completely masterful in terms of presentation and combat systems, like Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy XII, Star Ocean, and many more, which I don't remember now. Also Neptunia to some extent. So I would say that the presentation and the combat is below standard. This is 2019 and it should be better, simply. Because if it was good, the game would be almost perfect. Seriously. But for some reason this is heavily downgraded. I don't know why, and I don't know why the price is so high, but definitely this whole piece of the game is lower than standard. Now when it comes to writing, the length, content to some extent, depending how you understand content, and especially the visual elements that are sexual, and just generally visual elements when it comes to actually showing you pictures, not this, because it's like a model on a map, on a diorama. I'm talking about actual pictures when you talk, when you see something happening. Even when we go to sound, well, most of the sound, I think all of the sound is in Japanese, so I'll just switch it off. But there's actually very good voice acting and sounds because it's a sexual game. So of course, voice acting also consists of just noises, not just words. Well, I'm gonna leave it there. And it's also very well done. So there's high quality in some places and very downgraded JRPG element. The visual novel element is very good, both in presentation, in length, in the quality of the story. the topics that are used, the sort of jokes that are in the game, and the quality of pictures. So I would say this is 9 out of 10. Just this visual novel element. So overall, it's really hard to say what should I give it. I should just maybe go with average, right? So 4 and 9, that would be like 7. Probably overall this would be 7 if you just go for numbers. I would say it's above average for sure. At the same time, the game is very unique for me. I mean, I don't really know many games like it that touch the sexual element. It's not censored. Actually, I tried to censor the game, but it was only blurring some elements, so I'm not showing you anything actually in this review, because I could have problems on YouTube. I even had to restart this recording because there was some sexual elements there. I had to switch it off. So even censoring doesn't really work well, and well, why would I censor it, right? So I watched everything, all the pictures, well, those that I found, and I really liked the quality. It was very well drawn. Of course, it was explicitly showing some stuff, but it was also very well drawn, very cute style, and very detailed. So I personally really liked the art style of the game, and also the story, just the writing, I could say. So this is definitely a recommendation, but you need to be completely aware of what you're getting. You are getting a lot of sexual content, and you're getting a lot of reading, and you are getting rather low budget JRPG game, which for some people might be not enough, but also if you play very old games or some RPG Maker games, that should be absolutely okay. Just not worth this much money. So the game is very uneven. As a visual novel, as a story to experience, I highly recommend it. It's very good. It's just very, very good. It's close to Final Fantasy experience. I don't know any game that would be a JRPG or visual novel that would beat Final Fantasy. So for me, it's top quality. I would probably give it 10, but I have to just leave a little bit of space. Probably because of the graphics, it's not 3D at all, so I would definitely prefer like full-fledged cutscenes with movies and character models, just 3D models, and you don't get it, you just get the 2D ones. And definitely the JRPG element is lower than standard, so it's barely acceptable. I kinda like it. I even play some older games or some RPG Maker games, and I can kind of like them. I kind of also like the turn-based combat system. I like grinding as well. I was grinding 50 hours of Dark Souls one time to get to max level in a row on one boss. So I can take grinding. I can also take reading, and I'm a fast reader. But some people who will get bored by grinding or who don't like reading won't probably like this game. The topic is very unique. There is very few uncensored games on Steam with sexual content. This game clearly has it, and it's clearly showing you a lot. I'm not saying it's very hard sexual content, at least most of the time. It's kind of violent sometimes, but it's not very hard, if you know what I mean. But it definitely has tons of innuendos, tons of topics used, and let's say types of sex. So it's there, but it's not really heavy stuff, at least not for me. I mean, I've seen worse, so well, just be warned, it's there. And I do like the fact that it's on Steam. I do like the fact that you can choose to play it if you don't mind, and it's definitely explained that this is 18 plus game with sexual content. It's in the disclaimer, it's also on the Steam store page, so if you shouldn't have contact with this, it's barred from you, right? It's definitely clearly said that this is 18 plus game, so no problem with that. And as I said, the violent elements match with the story. This is what I written also in one of the discussions on the forums, that well, you don't mind it in Game of Thrones, right? And why would you mind it here? This is just another medium. And Game of Thrones is much worse, much more gruesome and violent than here. So you would have to just completely block and censor everything at this point, including the news, the actual news, what's going on in the world. And this is shown to even kids. So I don't mind it at all. I think people shouldn't be sheltered from the reality of the world. And this game is very well explaining why things happen. It's also educational, to be honest. I mean, really, if you have no idea about sex, this game can teach you stuff. Yes. And I know it sounds weird. You might think, well, it's of course exaggerated and stuff. But yes, actually some actions and some details can be educational. Of course, if you want to take that education, if you are allowed to. But yes, if you have just very few information, how things work, and if you still think about the bees and butterflies, then this game can open your eyes. It's actually educational. It's as well, which is weird because I was kinda shocked that this game is actually saying stuff that makes sense in real life. Of course, not all the time because it's a fantasy game, but some elements really make sense. They are really like you should act sometimes, of course, not always, but sometimes it's really actually how you should act in real life, how you should care about others. There's a lot of positivity in here about friendship, about love, about caring for others. Very positive message at the end. I was even moved at like one moment in the game. I almost cried. I don't think I did, but I had like slightly wet eyes. So it was emotional at some point. Also, if you're lonely, it can be very hard for you to take because, well, kind of like it's every man's wet dream, the whole game, like having actually someone who cares for you. So if you don't have it in real life, you can be a little bit sad when you play it. Still, it's a very positive game at the end, a very positive experience. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna leave you with this. It was a problematic review because I couldn't show you or tell you everything explicitly because it's on YouTube, right? And I could have problems. At the end, I would leave the game with 7 out of 10, just for the entirety of the content. But if you focus only on the art style and the writing, you can say it's a 9, if you don't mind the rest. And I personally highly recommend it because it was really one of the very few long RPG, well, JRPG mostly, or visual novel experiences that I had. It was like really 75 hours of playing one game fully to the end and enjoying it. I really wanted to play it. I didn't want to just play an hour and drop a review. I actually wanted to finish the game. I was playing it day by day, so it was kind of like playing Final Fantasy, when I just couldn't stop. So very good experience, very good writing, beautiful art, and interesting topic. Now, what is the game about? I don't really want to tell you much. I can only say that you are a guy and there is sex involved. And it's all a very big, epic story, fantasy story in a weird world, kind of like Final Fantasy world, with weird creatures and weird actions. Even physics work different in this game, and even creatures are different. There is like different types of cows, and mammals are insects in this game, and there's a lot more to discover. So it's a very strange world, very nicely put together, great experience, great game, high recommendation. Unless you completely can't take the sexual content, well, if you can't take it, then don't play it. And I think it should be cheaper, just because it has so much downgraded JRPG content. Then it's just unfair to ask $40. Like pretty much any Final Fantasy game would give you better JRPG experience. And for a visual novel, well, they are expensive, and this one is very long and very well drawn, but at the same time Sakura games are probably cheaper, and they are also well drawn, maybe even better. So this game definitely has competition. There is many better JRPGs, and there is at least a big group of very good visual novels. I don't know why exactly this is so expensive. I mean, it's long, so you should get your money back at least in terms of hours played. I mean, 75 hours is not bad, but you'll probably kind of end there. You don't even have achievements to do, or well, I think there is some sort of NG plus, but I don't think there's much point to play it. Just the same thing. You can just as well play just the post story content, finish all the quests and get all the collectibles, so it would prolong the game, but I don't think you would go back to it because it's a linear story, so you play through it once, you experience it, and then you delete it. So the price, I think, should be more lower, so that more people could be, enjoying the game, because this is like one of the top prices on Steam, right? So there's definitely competition with pretty much any other game, especially if it goes on some sale. You can just get any AAA title for this much money, and well, not necessarily with this sort of presentation, especially in combat and exploration. You can just have a game that looks better and plays better, but you wouldn't have that unique experience that you get here. And this is a very unique game, really. I don't have many games that would have sexual element, especially in this form, especially openly on Steam with no censor. So, well, that's something special, and I really enjoy it. I like that it's there. I think it should be there. There should be just a shelf with adult stuff in there, more games like this, and just keep the disclaimers up. Name it 18 plus, name it sexual, and so on. Adults only, but it should be there. It should be for people who want to enjoy it, and I did. I thoroughly did enjoy this game. So thank you for the key. I think it's enough. So I leave you with 7 out of 10 for Evenicle, mostly because of downgraded JRPG content. Very good reading, very good story, tons of sex, and well, just a story to experience on your own. That's why I didn't go with any dialogue, any story elements, no spoilers almost. So you should live this experience on your own, and I think it's worth it. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna stop here, and we'll see you in the next review.